Planning poker. Like we discussed in last week's video, planning poker is essentially a gamification of the relative sizing process which you use to estimate the product development work that's involved. The game of planning poker can be moderated by anyone, could be the scrum master, could be the product manager, or anyone from the team who's actually capable of moderating the discussions. Essentially what you do as part of the planning poker is get everyone from the team into a room and get them all to sit around a table, and each team member is given a set of size cards. The sizes on the cards could be extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and double extra large. Of course, depending on the kind of work that the team typically does and their pace of work and the size of the team and so on, you may choose to do away with extra small and extra large. Once the team members have all the cards and they're sitting around the table, the moderator takes out one user story at a time. And ideally, the teams would be familiar with the user stories because the teams would have been part of creating the user stories during the elaboration process. So once you have the first user story out in play, the teams think about it for a couple of minutes, and each member takes out a size card and puts it on the table with the size down so that nobody else knows what each member has selected as the size. And once each member has put the cards on the table, you ask everyone to reveal their sizes, and everybody reveals their sizes. And at this stage, there are three possibilities. The first possibility is that everybody has selected the exact same size for that user story, which is a great scenario, and so then you basically accept that size for the user story and move on. The second scenario is that the sizes that people have selected are very close to each other but not the same. So it could be that a few people have selected medium and a few people have selected large. In that scenario, what you do is you have a discussion to get the teams to align on what they think is the right size. The other approach you could take is you go with the majority, or if you could also just take the larger size, or you could take the smaller size. Again, depending on the scenario and the kind of user story that's involved, you take a collective call and move on. Now the third scenario is a bit more complex, but it's extremely interesting. So in this scenario, what could happen is that a few of the members might have selected small, a few of the members might have selected medium, and let's say a few of the members have selected extra large. In this case, what you do is you get each of the sizes to talk about why they're selected that size. So for example, you might get you will ask the person who selected extra large to talk about why they selected extra large, and then you will similarly you do the same thing with the people who have selected small to get them to explain why they selected small. And in this discussion, what often happens is that there could be some hidden assumptions which somebody would have thought about and others may not have thought about, that comes out. Other thing that happens is that there could be certain approaches that you could take which could simplify the work, and the people who selected the small size would talk about some of those possibilities. And when this discussion happens, everyone in the team comes to a even more aligned agreement on what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And after this discussion, typically you would arrive at a common size for that user story, and you move on to the next user story then. Once you have gone through this exercise for all the user stories that need to be developed, you would have relative sizes for each user story. What you do then is to convert the relative size to story points using the Fibonacci series. And you add up all these story points, and then you know what's the total amount of work that needs to be done. And if you know the team's velocity, the sprint velocity, then you know how many sprints they would take to actually complete that work. And once the teams have completed a couple of sprints, you would have a really good sense of their velocity, and the guesstimates that this planning poker provides are surprisingly accurate. Some of the key benefits with this approach are that one, it gets everyone in the team involved, and everyone talks about what they think and what they feel, and you arrive at an estimate which everybody is sort of comfortable with. The second thing is that in the discussions that happen as part of the story size normalization, a lot of hidden assumptions and alternate approaches that you could do to simplify the work, all of those come out as part of these discussions. And the third and the most important thing is that this game makes an otherwise boring exercise fun and interactive. Now, if you would like to try a game of planning poker with your teams, do give me a shout, and I would love to have a conversation and help you play the game. And if you found this video insightful, do give it a like. Thank you for watching and have a good one.